What did the War of 1812 accomplish? The War of 1812 is often forgotten among Americans, or looked on as pointless. However, the war did lead to fundamental changes in American politics and in its self-perception. The War of 1812 first helped establish a unique identity for America. Second, raised up a new generation of heroes for the Americans. And third, it proved that America was a mature country that was capable of defending itself. So my first point is that the War of 1812 helped give America a unique identity as a nation. So America originally declared war on Britain because they wanted to free trade and for sailors' rights. Since there was no illegal immigration into America, most of the people didn't have passports, especially sailors. So the British, who needed sailors to help fight in the Navy against Napoleon, they would capture American sailors, and because they didn't have American passports, maybe they still had British passports, they would force them to join the Navy. So because of these offenses, as well as other things, America declared war. Surprisingly, the English actually had written that they would stop these offenses before the war started, but news was not able to carry to the Americas fast enough. So the Americans, they also wanted to expand and to conquer English territories in Canada. So they took an army and burned down Toronto. So the English weren't so happy about this, so they sent their navy to America and in turn burned down their capital, Washington, D.C. The American government wanted to make the war more popular because people were kind of mad at what was happening. So they promoted symbols and traditions to increase nationalism. Donald Hickey says about such songs and symbols that they helped Americans define who they were and where the young republic was headed. The most famous example is the Star-Spangled Banner. Francis Scott Key wrote this poem when he was trapped on a British ship viewing the Battle of Fort McHenry. So there was an old doctor held by the British authority on the ship, and Key was hired as the lawyer to free him. So while he was on the ship, the British started bombing Fort McHenry. And through the night, he was watching the barrage and the bombs. And there he wrote the poem. This poem grew into fame and was put to the tune of a drinking song called To Acreon in Heaven. My second point is that the War of 1812 led to the rise of a new generation of heroes for the Americans. The heroes of the founding generation of America were all very old or dead, so the Americans needed new leaders. The war provided a good opportunity for young men to show valor. Many heroes of the war went on to become political figures. Donald R. Hickey says, in particular, the war helped catapult 4 men into presidency. These men were Andrew Jackson, John Quincy Adams, James Monroe, and William Henry Harrison. So many men became presidents too because of this. Another symbolic leader was named James Lawrence. He was the captain of the Chesapeake and was shot during a battle off the coast of Boston. He was fatally wounded, and when he was being carried below deck, he famously said, "Don't give up the ship." A few weeks later, this was published in a Baltimore newspaper, and it also became the model of the U.S. Navy. My third point is that the War of 1812 proved that America was a mature country that was capable of defending itself. Even though America didn't actually gain anything from the war, it did have a second defeat, or at least a standstill, to England, which was a major world power. This boosted America's self-confidence. America also earned honor from other countries. As Lance Banning says, Americans celebrated the end of the war with a burst of national pride. This is due to the success of the Battle of New Orleans. So, ironically, even though this is like the Battle of New Orleans is what Americans remember most of the war, it was fought 2 weeks after the Treaty of Ghent that was signed to end the war. So, on January 8th, 1814, 500 British troops advanced towards Andrew Jackson's army of about the same size, who was defending New Orleans. The battle lasted only 30 minutes, and the British lost 2,000 men, while the Americans only lost 71. News of this lopsided victory quickly spread across America. The victory changed the Americans' perspective on the entire war. Even though the War of 1812 is largely forgotten today, it brought a sea change to the Americans, establishing first a national identity, second, it raised up a generation of heroes, and thirdly, it proved that America was capable of defending itself. Thank you.